think it's a good topic to have right before lunch. We've been doing a lot of deep thinking, and yesterday Sachin, Shinoy, and all those people kind of asked us to introspect and think and all that. So I think it's nice. I think it's high time that we kind of chilled out a little bit and took a more light-hearted look at the kind of work we do, how we can do it better, and what we can learn from somebody outside of our industry. Completely, I mean totally outside.
Yeah. Can you?
Yeah. Okay. People still walking in, so shall we take 2 minutes? Certainly we don't want people to miss out.
Welcome to our next session. Our speakers for today are Mr. Tejaswi and Asad. Both are from Oracle, while Tejaswi is a technical writer, senior technical writer. Mr. Asad is a senior manager. And they take us through something different, the street food vendor approach to information development. Over to both of you.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you all for attending this session. I know there's a lot of other interesting...
Can't hear you. Yeah.
Can you hear me? Is that better? So I know there's a couple of other interesting sessions going on, so thank you for choosing us. We talk about street food and what we can learn from the street food vendor, what we as information developers can learn from it. So, okay, before I get into this, how many of you don't understand Hindi? Don't understand Hindi at all? Everybody understands Hindi, right? Because I have a tendency of kind of slipping into Hindi, and then these people who don't understand what I'm saying then becomes a problem. And how many of you actually speak Chinese or understand Chinese? Nobody, right? Nobody knows Chinese? Nobody knows Chinese? Okay, that means I can basically say whatever the heck I want, and then you believe me, right? So, so apparently, this is just a random quote. It apparently means, what does it mean?
Eating is even more important.
Eating is even more important than the emperor. Now, we got that English translation and we fed it into Google Translate, and these are the characters we got. So we prayed to God that is what it actually means, especially since I understand you guys are uploading this on YouTube.
Yes.
So hopefully this is what it says. Can't guarantee that, but I think none of us will debate the wisdom of that saying that eating is very important. Of course, it's important to survival. But it's a little bit more than that, right? Our well-being and how we enjoy life, etc. Right? So I think it's a fairly important thing. There are graphic images of food interspersed throughout this presentation. So your discretion is advised, but I would make a disclaimer that this is all vegetarian food. So if there's any vegetarian people, don't worry. I mean, it's all bhel puri, sev puri, all that kind of stuff. Not offensive. And then Tejaswi and I did consume a lot of street food. I mean, just looking at the slides, I mean, made us hungry. So I mean, Tejaswi doesn't look like it, but I think certainly have the impact of our 3 weeks of presentation on my body. So let's dive right in. I like this image a lot because it says Hawa Mahal at the back, but it looks like Hawa Hawaii. So Sri Devi ki jai. And let's get started. This is what we hope to achieve in this presentation. What we're trying to do is explore the reasons that street food is so successful now, why it has always been there, and of course what we can learn from that. Right? So how we can apply the street food recipe of success to improve our user experience of health. Of course, not all street food is good, but there's a whole set of very successful street food vendors who come to their stall in a Mercedes and all that kind of stuff. So let's see what we can learn from them. Right? This is what we're going to go through. See why street food, right? Why should we talk about street food and not something else? Of course, then we'll have a few slides on how we can apply all the good things that we learn from street food to user assistance. We'll wrap up. Hopefully, we'll have a very fruitful discussion. And then, obviously, we are hungry. We want to break for lunch. I certainly am. I didn't have any breakfast because I was so nervous about the day. We all go for lunch. So, pehla sawal. Why street food? Man, there's gulab jamun there. Amazing. Anyway, so why street food, right? So, user experience, when you talk about user experience, people always say that people like, or look forward to, good experiences rather than
Present experience.
Present experiences rather than
Performing mundane tasks.
Right? So, this is what Tejaswi and I could think of. Reading a good book, maybe a novel, any kind of novel, any book, watching a movie and eating any kind of good food, maybe street food, but any kind, right? And I don't think anyone really thinks of, when you think of present experience, going to the bank or
Standing in ATM queue.
Standing in ATM queue, especially those of you from Hyderabad, I don't think you're looking forward to that, right? So the idea is that user satisfaction or increases with the pleasure in interaction. Now, of course, the tasks that we do certainly aren't ever going to be as pleasant as reading a good book and all. But let's see what we can bring from the present experiences in real life to our interactions with our applications, right? So we spoke of 3 things that we thought of: present experiences, reading a book, watching a movie, and food. So why did Tejaswi and I decide to talk about street food? Firstly, because it is very significant, right? Why is it significant? It's been there a long time, right? If you read history books, you know that there's people subsisted on fried fish in Greece. You're talking maybe 2000 plus years ago, and soup and bread in Rome. So basically, as long as urban populations have been around, the cities have been around, street food has been around, right? Maybe a lot of people didn't have kitchens in their homes, and so they needed something on the street to kind of pick up. And of course, pav bhaji. This is something that Tejaswi and I learned, that pav bhaji kind of was sort of invented in Bombay when during the American Civil War, right? So cotton stopped from the southern US. So the British wanted cotton from somewhere, so they came to India. They had cotton mills in Bombay. They needed people to work around the clock. So they said, pav bhaji bana do yaar, ek haath mein pav, dusre haath mein bhaji, jaldi khao and get back to work, right? So that's the interesting thing. So it's been around for a long time, and still today, 2 billion people eat or subsist on street food every single day. 2 billion of us, right? And of course, so necessity, it's been around a long time, it's a necessity, but it's also part of popular culture now. Right? Those of you who watch Discovery and lifestyle channels and all that, you know that there's this movie on food trucks, there's popular shows on food trucks, so it's kind of everywhere, right? And it's become a global phenomena. Popular culture is kind of taken over, but also in high culture, right? So those of you who know about the Michelin Guide, you know that it's the thing, right? It's the height of sophistication in food, right? And even the Michelin Guide recently, 2 months ago, 2-3 months ago, kind of awarded 2 Michelin stars to street food vendors, right? So even in high culture, it's kind of people are recognizing that it's important. Okay, ठीक है, important है, everyone likes it and all that, but what is the point of comparison between street food and information technology, information health, etc. Right, so who's the audience? We established that it's a large, mostly urban population who require quick access to inexpensive, nutritious food. I don't know how nutritious samosas and all are, but if it's nutritious, it's all good, right? And then who's the audience for today's information? Largely technically savvy and mobile population requiring quick access to information on the go. And when you say large, what is large? There is 2 billion PCs in the world today.
6.8 billion mobile phones.
6.8 billion mobile phone connections.
Compared to total population of 7 billion on this earth.
There's 7 billion of us, or at least 7 billion human beings on Earth. And there's a lot of other animals as well, but let's talk about there's 6.8 billion mobile connections to 7 billion humans, right? Even if you assume that not everybody has a mobile phone connection, but you're talking about a significant portion. So basically what that means? Street food and information technology are
commonplace everywhere.
So I think that's a fair point of comparison, right? So I think it's worth going to the next few slides, right? You don't pack up and go. So okay, okay. So there's a fair point of comparison. So then what do you think we can learn from street food? Right, so Tejaswi is going to talk a little bit more in detail about all this stuff. So I'm going to go very quickly through this. For the vendor, imagine your Sev Puri, Bhel Puri wala is kind of doing everything in this small space, so it has to be lightweight. It should be simple to prepare, simple to kind of deliver to people. It has to be modular and versatile, or it is modular and versatile. Imagine Bhel Puri wala, prepares his chaat, and he cuts his potatoes, everything, and keeps them. And then from the same few chutneys and dahi and all, you get Sev Puri, Bhel Puri, Pani Puri, dahi puri, patata puri, I know which all are puris and all you get.
Modularity.
So it's modular. I mean, you have elements, you can put them together as you like.
N number of different outputs using the same basic components, different
right?
combinations.
Correct. And then it's inexpensive. Certainly, the capital that you need to set up a street food stall is certainly less than setting up a brick and mortar restaurant. And of course, customer facing. Most of the time, the guys here and the customers over there, it's the same guy who's making the pani puri and shoving it down your throat. Or those of you from anyone from Bombay, I mean, muchhat pan wala shoving his pan right into your face, right? So
face to face interaction.
So you at least not to face. So let's replace vendor with information developer, right? Now, hopefully some of us are already here. But if we are not here, do we want our tools and processes to be lightweight, easy to use, easy to deliver, and easy to understand? I mean, so because unless the tools are easy to use, they are going to introduce. I mean, if they're complex tools leads to complex output, right? So we want them to be lightweight.
Yeah.
Hopefully, some of us are already using lightweight HTML, all those tools. Do we want our content to be modular and versatile? I mean, Shreya and I spoke, those of you who were in our earlier presentation, we spoke about, focusing on important content, modularizing content, read Vita, all of that stuff. We won't get into that, but basically have individual topics that you can create and publish quickly, right? And versatile, right? Put things together, put things into various guides and publish them. Right? Do we want our tools and our output to be inexpensive? I mean, not only in the matter of actual cost, but in usage and ease of use, etc. And customer facing. I mean, all of us are either customer facing already, or we are trying to become customer facing and learn from the customers to see what they want from us and then deliver that, right? So that's from the vendor's point of view. From the consumer's point of view, is street food accessible? Right on the corner, get out of your building, get out of your office. Gate ke bazu mein hi khada hai apna sutte wala, and everything is all there, right? I don't know if sutte wala street food vendor, but anyway. So it's easy to consume. You can pick up your vada pav, you can pick up anything in samosa pav in one hand and walk to your station, walk to your bus stop, walk to your office.
You can have it on the go.
You can have it on the go. It is adaptable and interactive. यार भैया चटनी ज़्यादा डालो, मीठी चटनी मत डालो, तीखी चटनी डालो, ये डालो, वो डालो. You can do all of that stuff, and it's inexpensive. Like samosa in a street food stall will be cheaper than what you have certainly in a restaurant, and even probably in your office canteen, right? Similarly, if you remove consumer, let's say help user, you want your help to be accessible, not only accessible for the special needs user, but for everybody. Easy to find, easy to use. You want it to be easy to consume. Similarly, I mean, it should be easy to understand and implement and use to resolve your day-to-day problems. Adaptable and interactive, so that you can give feedback and make sure that the help is configured to the way you want it. And I think Tejaswi will talk a little bit more about it, so I won't get into it. And inexpensive, right? Time is money. Remember, you don't want the guy to spend too much time, right? So these are the things we'll talk about. Maximize user experience by focusing on user needs. This is what Tejaswi is going to talk about. Maximizing user experience by focusing on the user needs. There can be a whole set of presentations from the vendor point of view. How we can improve our processes, how we can improve our tools and all. I'm sure there's been several presentations on agile and this and that and all that stuff. But we are going to focus on how to improve the experience of the customer. So, Tejaswi. So there's your visual relief. some Bhelpuri right out of Bombay stall. So applying street food mantras to users.
Yeah, thank you, Asad. Now we will see how we can apply street food mantras to user assistance. So before we see, let us take a look at the
You back.
from here. Yeah, I want to go to that. Yeah. So let us take a look at the 4 points that Asad covered. So accessible, easy to consume, adaptable and interactive, and inexpensive. So now let us see how we can achieve all these 4 objectives from information development point of view. So the first thing is accessibility. So of course a street food vendor is very much accessible. He is always available right at the middle of the road. So you can always access street food vendor. So how can we make our information itself accessible? So when we think of accessibility, the first thought that comes to our mind is people with special needs. So of course accessibility is very much important for people with special needs, but accessibility in general is equally important for anybody and everybody. So let us see how we can make our information accessible. So the first thing is simplify the UI. So as information developers, during the design phase, we need to collaborate and we need to review the content on the UI screen. So if requirements, we need to simplify the UI, and as ideas how we can simplify, we can review the content that is there on the UI, review the content and simplify the UI. But we understand that there are many complex applications such as enterprise applications where still health requirements would arise. Simplifying the UI itself may not totally do away with the necessity for help. So in such a case, what we should do? If we have to, if at all we need to provide help, then we provide the help then and there in the context of the UI. So that preferably we do not want our users to leave the UI and then go into some other location and keep looking at the help. So we want him to be there then and there in the context of the UI itself. Like for example, overtext is there in this example. So we want our users to take a look at the help and continue with the work that they are doing on the application. So, but again we understand that simplifying the UI design and embedding the help then and there on the UI also may not be enough in case of complex applications wherein detailed information, detailed documentation, detailed topics may be required. So in such a case, what we need to do? In such a case, we need to enable search. So when we say enable search, we are enabling search both internally and externally. So internally through the UI on the application, externally from Google. So how do we enable search? We can enable search from user role point of view, user task point of view, the product from product point of view, and also the content that we use when we develop our information, it should be domain specific. So in what way domain specific content will help users to search our content? The thing is, if we use domain specific terms in our information that we provide to users, it will help in search engine optimization. It will help the users to optimize their search. When they search with those specific industry specific, domain specific terms, immediately they will be able to reach our topics, our content that we develop for them. So apart from that, we also know that many of us have the habit of going to the structure, going to the TOC in the books. So again, table of contents point of view, how we need to categorize the content. We can categorize the content in the table of contents based on role, based on task, based on product, based on the writing pattern type. So when we do all these things, we will be able to make our content, our information more accessible for our users. So what is the key takeaway here? So the key takeaway is we need to provide information when and where it is needed. So preferably the information should be when and where it is needed. Or if we can't do that, if we need to provide more elaborate information, then we need to make it easily findable. So findability is the key here. So accessibility means making the information available then and there. That is the first thing. The second key point is making it findable. If we can't make all the help that we have, if we can't make it available then on the context of the UI, we need to make it findable.
So different POC would be there. By row, they can select the POC that is available.
Yeah, different categories. Based on different categories. Based on the user roles.
Has it been done in all?
Yeah.
It's by role. So, for example, procurement manager or sales manager, sales user, project manager, team member, etc. So you can select and you can see. Yes.
Yeah.
Interest of team.
Just one question. This enables search when you're talking from products perspective or documentation perspective? Document.
No.
Enable search box which you showed.
Yeah, that is the thing. That is our help application.
Help application.
So within we're making sure that you have a proper search capabilities within our own help application, as well as
From
when
Google
you're searching,
externally.
when you're searching externally from Yahoo, Google, or whatever it is, the same results, the same thing should come. That is the attempt.
But is the search application integrated with the other products?
Correct. Even on the application itself, there's on the top there is a search
Okay.
that you can use, type, and then when you hit that, without going into our online help application, you can search within the application itself. It will throw up results.
Search related to that product or other products? as well?
Depends on what it will search across.
Okay.
Though of course there is some striping by role, etc.
Okay.
But because there will be stuff outside of the application, right? What is application? Nobody in today's world, nobody's worried about I'm using this particular application. They are saying I want to do this task. So this task might be kind of going through multiple applications.
Right.
So
Yeah. To continue, the next point is easy to consume. Of course, street food is easy to consume, easy to handle, easy to have, easy to dispose after you have the food and continue. And in the same way, when we talk about our health, how can we make our health easy to consume? So if you look at the example here, at the top we have a paragraph here, and the same content in the paragraph is represented in two different ways below. On the left you can see a flow diagram, and on the right you can see number list. So when I look at these three different ways of representing the same information, what comes to my mind is, when I see at the flow diagram, the information in the flow diagram is easy to scan. The information in the flow diagram is easy to skim through. I can easily see, understand the details that are there through the flow diagram. So what we are trying to say here, so how can we make our information, our help easy to consume? So we need to make appropriate use of diagrams. We need to make appropriate use of numbered list. We need to make appropriate use of bullet lists. We need to make appropriate use of tables, and even appropriate use of white space. So when we do all these things, our information that we try to provide to our users will become easy to consume. And when we say diagrams, when we say graphics, elaborate always need not be effective. Simple also can be effective. We need to think like a street food vendor. We need not think like a chef in a Michelin star restaurant. So with a simple diagram also it can be effective. So effectiveness can be achieved through simplicity also. We need not always think about complex to be effective. So what is the key takeaway here? So the key takeaway is, when we say easy to consume, we are talking about readability here. So make key information obvious and ensure topic is easy to read, readable. So the next thing is interactive. So of course our street food vendor is very much interactive. We have one-on-one interaction, face-to-face interaction with customers, and he takes the feedback from customers. So in the same way, when we talk about our health, our information development, how can we be interactive? So we can also have direct interaction in different organizations. The interaction varies in different ways. So we can also have direct face-to-face interaction with customers, or we can have interaction through customer proxies such as salespeople or outbound product managers. Or we can also have interaction through questionnaires. We can have interaction through blogs. We can have interaction through wikis. We can have interaction through conference pages. So even people use LinkedIn for interaction. And also there are different forums for different products. So if we Google almost for each and every product, we see forums. So in the forums, what is happening? Many people are discussing about the product. People are discussing about their pain points. So when we see, what happens is sometimes the pain point, the discussion is related to documentation also. So we can be a silent spectator on such forums. We can go through the information that people are discussing. We can understand their pain points and come back to our documentation and see how we can address the needs of the people. So all these different modes of interaction, what are we trying to achieve? Currently, when we talk about authors as writers, as information developers, we have two groups. One group is of authors, other group is of users. So we author our content and we provide it our users. So we want to increase this interaction to such an extent that these two different separate groups of authors and users, they combine with synergy and merge into one common author-user community where role reversal is very much possible. Author can be user, user can be author. So one can step into other shoes, each other's shoes, and vice versa. So when we achieve interaction to such an extent, then it will benefit our content that we produce. So what is the key takeaway here? Use social networking and all other avenues of interaction. So this is the key takeaway, interaction point of view. So then next comes inexpensive. So when we talk about street food, of course we know that street food is inexpensive. So how can we make our content, our information inexpensive? So there are two aspects here. The first thing is when we focus on concise content, when we focus on brevity, and when we do away with verbose content, we are obviously saving on translation costs. But apart from that, what is the second thing? The second thing is we are saving time for our users. So time is money. So if you look at the examples here, we have before version, we have after version. So in the before version, if you look at the first sentence here, the first sentence is a theoretical statement. And if you look at the second sentence, the sentence in red color here, it is a very intuitive example. So in after version, what did we do basically? We did away with the theoretical statement and that intuitive example. So if you look at the answer to the question in the after version, the answer starts with add the delegate's name. So add is an action, it's a verb. So here we are addressing the user task at hand that user is performing on the application. So in this way, we need to look at the ways to do away with the theoretical content and intuitive examples so that our content will become inexpensive and also more effective. So apart from that, leave alone content, even the title, many times what happens is the topic titles that we have, the title also, we can make it more concise. And also in this example, if you look at the last sentence in before version and after version, this authorization terminates. In after version, what did we do? We said this authorization ends. So we have replaced a complex word with a simple word. So we need not use terminates. We need not show to users how proficient we are with our language. So our goal is to make the content easily understandable to the user. So we need to keep ourselves in step in the user's shoes, and we need to do away with the complex content. So we replace terminates with ends here. So what is the key takeaway here? The key takeaway is time is money, discard low value information and complex words. So now we have seen theoretically we have seen about how we can apply street food. So here we attempted at applying the street food health. So this is an example that we actually tried out. So people in the back, if you can't read the content here, do not worry. So I will take you through this. So the thing is, the context here is, we have My Manager Evaluations page. So a manager is actually trying to evaluate appraisal for one of his reports. So he is on this page. So he's a fairly new manager. So he's not well versed with how to perform appraisal. So he comes to this page, and the page header is My Manager Evaluations. So right next to the page header, he sees the help icon. So when he sees the help icon, he clicks the help icon. So when he clicks the help icon, help window opens. So what is the information that is there on the help window? So description is there. Description related to the task on this particular screen is available over there on the help window. So apart from the description, what other information is there? We have a FAQ, a question here, we have a video here, and we have a conceptual information topics here. So all this information he can go through here. So if he wants, he can click on the video and see the video, and apart from the content that is there, he has the more help option here. So when he clicks on the more help, what happens? The more help will take him to a help portal. So he will go to the help portal in the context of the task that he is performing. So he can look at the further information on the help portal. And apart from that, we understand that for different organizations, to suit their own needs, they do customizations. So when they do customizations on the application, help also needs to be customized. So they can, at their end, customize the help, and that help they can make it accessible to manage custom help. So Asad would like to add.
So basically what will happen is, let's say your organization uptakes the appraisal tool that Oracle has created, right? And then you have your best practices and all that you are propagating to your users. So you can say I don't want all this help, or in addition to all this help, I want certain best practices all listed here. So you can kind of, anyone who is a help administrator can come, add their own help, their own videos, their own PDFs, their own Word documents, their own HTML files, whatever it is, and it will come and sit right over there. So you are, imagine, I mean, probably you're getting emails every day or every year from your HR person that, you know, complete the appraisal for next year or some such thing. All that information can be directly inserted on the UI, right? So you can say chutney dalo, masala dalo, or whatever it is that you want.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, why we are calling this as street food help? So why we are calling this as street food help is, when you go to a street food vendor, what he does is, he acts as a one-stop shop for you to satisfy all your hunger-related needs. So in the same way, on this particular UI, on this page, this is acting as a one-stop shop. He comes on the UI, in the context of the UI itself, he's looking at the various help options, whatever options are there that are being made available from the context of the UI itself. So just like how street food vendor is your one-stop shop for your hunger requirements, this is also in the same way as a parallel example. So let us wrap it up by looking at the gist. So what is the gist of this presentation? The gist is simple, keep it simple. So how do you keep it simple? Keep it simple, stupid. This is the KISS methodology that originated in the US Navy in the early 1960s. So how do you keep it simple? So the thing is, you always have to put yourself in the shoes of user and think from user perspective. So when will user normally come for help? So when he is trying to perform a task and he is stuck somewhere, or when he has a decision to take, or when he is trying to troubleshoot some issue, resolve some issue. So you need to provide information in this context only. Like I mentioned earlier, you can do away with the theoretical information, you can do away with the intuitive examples. So when you focus on this, obviously your help will be easy to read, and readability and findability are the two key things. And when you achieve all these things, automatically you will respond to your user requirements. So remember, more need not be always more, less is actually more. So when your user needs a Reader's Digest version, do not attempt to provide an Encyclopedia Britannica to your users. So to help to conclude the presentation on a rather funny note, currently less is more, and actually currently more is less, because the more the time that we spend here, less would be the food in the dining hall waiting for us. So thank you very much for your time.
We have time to take any questions. We are, I think, well on time. I don't know. Any comments, any suggestions, any things to say? The one thing, while I'm walking there, the one thing that I said that, you know, we were focusing on this presentation on the user's point of view. In Srinivas's presentation at 3:30, 2:30, he's going to talk about a little bit about understanding processes and explaining process, simplifying processes for us technical writers. So, Srini, your presentation is called Inspiring Strategies to Impatient Writers, how we can make them impatient.
I don't know if this qualifies as a question, but in context of the presentation, first of all, nice presentation, congratulations on that. In context of the presentation, I think 2 points that you might have missed were hygiene, maybe lack of hygiene, and lack of standardization. How would you like to address?
Yeah, so hygiene, yes, certainly. I mean, that was one of the, you know, when we set this PPT out for review, one of the main things was, you know, people see street food as not so hygienic, and you know, so we are of course talking about the higher end street food and street cart and street food trucks. Of course, I mean, when you compare yourself to, I mean, there's always the good points and the bad points. So we ask you to kind of learn the best things from them, don't take. And
Ram's Dosa House, Gokul Chaat, Pulla Reddy.
They're all very clean.
Yeah, all these outer street food vendors.
Yeah, and nowadays you can have pani puri with Bisleri water and all that stuff. So please, by all means, use that. And of course, certainly, I mean, standardization and all that. But yesterday in the discussion, I mean, I don't know whose discussion it was, but do we need to be this thing with our own? I mean, do we need to use MSVP and all that? There was this whole discussion. So, anyway, any other observations? that was a good observation. Thank you.
So I was expecting, when you said street food, it's how quickly they make it, right? So you have certain ready ingredients.
Modularity.
Yes, the modularity. Have you thought about something like that when it comes to health?
So, there's only so much you can talk about in 30 minutes. Ma'am, if you give us 1 hour, we will talk about that. But yes, certainly, we want to be agile. I think Shreya and I spoke this morning about agility and continuous delivery and all that, of course, comes into play. So certainly, street food vendor is able to produce food very quickly, kind of do it like this. You're not going to wait there. In a restaurant, you might wait half an hour for your food and have a nice conversation, have a glass of wine, perhaps. Not me, but other people. But or maybe have a soft drink or something. But you're not going to do that. You're not going to wait for half an hour at a street food vendor unless he is Ram ki bandi. Maybe you might wait for that guy, but not for others. So certainly, doing things quickly, doing things in an agile way is certainly important, and that is also something that we can learn from a street food.
Pav Bhaji was continuous delivery.
Absolutely, Pav Bhaji.
Continuous delivery model. So people need not have to wait.
I don't have to wait. If you go to a stall, especially in Bombay, it's like arranged around the corner of that tawa, whatever you call it, and then when you come and they bring it in, they mix it up, they fry the bread, and they let to go. Anything else, guys? Or kuch?
Great analogy.
Oh, thank you very much. But at least I hope I made everyone hungry.
Is there street food also?
Stall, next time we will invite. Thank you everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks Asad and Tejaswi for that mouth-watering session. I'm sure we all built up a very good appetite for lunch now. All thanks to both of you. And just a moment, a token of appreciation for both of you. Round of applause, please.